In the spring of 1922, on a small, isolated farm in the south of Germany, an entire family was murdered. The crime has never been solved, but that is not what makes Hinterkaifeck one of the most disturbing cases in history. What makes it unforgettable is what happened in the days before and the days after. The farm sat alone at the edge of a wood far from the nearest village. 6 people lived there. Andreas Gruber, a hard and unpopular old farmer. His wife, their widowed daughter Victoria. Victoria's 2 young children, Cecilia and Josef. And a maid who had only just arrived. In the final week of March, the snow still lay deep around the farm, and Andreas Gruber began to notice things that he could not explain. First, there were footprints, tracks in the fresh snow, leading from the edge of the forest straight to the farmhouse. But there were no tracks leading back. Whoever had made them had walked to the house and never left. Then sounds. Footsteps in the attic, above the family's heads in the dead of night. Gruber climbed up to look. He found no one, but he found that the dust had been disturbed. A set of house keys went missing. Then, a newspaper appeared on the farm that no one in the family had bought or brought home. Someone Gruber did not know had been seen near the property, and one night, from a small window set into the roof, Gruber was certain he saw a face, looking back at him. He told his neighbors about these things, the footprints, the footsteps, the feeling of being watched in his own home. But he did nothing more. He did not call the police. He did not leave. The maid who had just arrived would later say she believed the house was haunted. The previous maid had quit 6 months earlier, claiming she heard voices in the empty rooms. On the evening of the 31st of March, the family went to bed in their isolated farmhouse, with whatever was in the attic still above them. One by one, they were lured to the barn and killed with a mattock, a heavy pickaxe used for breaking soil. The 2 adults, the daughter and the older child, 6-year-old Cecilia, were struck down in the barn. Then the killer went into the house. He killed the maid in her room, and he killed the toddler Joseph in his cot beside his mother's empty bed. But the murders are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of the part that no one can explain, for the killer did not flee. When neighbors finally came to the farm, 4 days later, troubled that the family had not been seen, they found the bodies. But they also found something far worse. Someone had stayed. The cattle in the barn had been fed, recently. Their troughs were full. The animals were calm and cared for. In the kitchen, a fire had been kept burning. Meals had been cooked and eaten. Bread had been cut. There were signs that someone had been moving freely through the house, sleeping there, living there, for days with the murdered family lying just outside. The smoke from the chimney had been seen by neighbors all week. They had simply assumed the family was home. Whoever killed the Grubers did not run into the night. They closed the doors, they fed the animals, they ate at the family's table, and they slept somewhere in that house, beside the dead. And then, at some point, they vanished, as silently as the footprints that led in, but never out. The investigation was vast and hopeless. Over 100 suspects were questioned across decades. The heads of the victims were removed and sent to clairvoyants and scientists alike in the hope of an answer. None ever came. The mattock, the murder weapon, was found in the farmhouse. The house itself was searched, torn apart, and finally demolished a year later. In the rubble beneath the floor, they found nothing that named the killer. To this day, more than 100 years on, the case is officially open. No one was ever charged. No motive was ever proven. We do not know who walked out of that forest in the snow. We do not know why they killed an entire family. And we do not know who fed the cattle and cooked in that kitchen for 4 days alone with the bodies. And now, think of the patience it would take to watch a house, to slip inside and live in its attic while a family sleeps below, to listen to their footsteps and learn their habits and wait. And then, when it is finally done, to stay, to feed their animals, to eat their bread, to sleep beneath their roof, with the dead lying in the barn. That is not the work of someone in a rage who runs. It is the work of someone who felt completely at home.